Hello everybody, it's your friendly neighborhood Godzilla fan, JurassicZilla here, back at it again with another video. In this video, I'm going to be ranking all of the Monsterverse movies and shows from my least favorite to my favorite. Now yet again, this isn't saying that, oh, this movie is the worst and this movie's the best. This is all my opinion, okay? It's my personal opinion. It's which movies I enjoyed the most or which movies I like the most. Just because I have a certain movie as number one doesn't mean that's what I think is the number one best Monsterverse movie. It's just my favorite. Okay, so I just want everyone to know that it's just going off my favorite. But anyways, let's get right into this video, shall we? Just your friendly neighborhood Godzilla fan. I will be including Godzilla 2014, Kong Skull Island, Godzilla King of the Monsters, Godzilla Vs Kong, the Skull Island anime, Monarch Legacy of Monsters, and Godzilla Kong The New Empire. So first off, let's start off with my least favorite, which has to be the Skull Island anime. Honestly, before making this video, I forgot that it even existed. It just kind of came and then now it's just gone, and a lot of people I feel like forget that I even exist. The show itself is okay. There's nothing absolutely crazy that happens in the show. It's a pretty simple show. You got the human characters going to Skull Island. They gotta face all the dangers that Skull Island has. The reason why it's in last place is because it doesn't feel like it's canon to the Monsterverse. Now, even I don't know if it is or not. Some people are saying it is, some people are saying it isn't. But if it is, I don't know, it just kind of feels a little out of place, which is kind of weird to say. But the first time when I watched the show, there were some things that just kind of felt a little weird, but I still had fun watching it. The characters were definitely something. The girl character was a little bit annoying at times, and that dog character, who's apparently named Dog, was just kind of rude the whole entire show. But either way, I love the Kraken, and I love seeing Kong fighting the Kraken. I thought that was a very fun fight, and the design for the Kraken was definitely pretty interesting. Either way, although this is in last place, doesn't mean I hate the show. I'm still glad it exists, and I really hope we get to see more shows like this anime style in the Monsterverse in the future. Next up, I know a lot of people might be a little mad at me saying this, but Godzilla 2014. Now, yet again, I do not hate Godzilla 2014. I love the movie. It's just that a lot of other things on the list I kind of like a little bit more. With that being said, Godzilla 2014 is a great movie and a perfect start to the Monsterverse. It takes things seriously. This movie is trying to be realistic in that if Godzilla actually was a real thing, this is what it would be like. Everything would be hard to see because there would be so much smoke all over the place. Godzilla would be moving slow because he's so heavy. Even the tsunami that Godzilla causes, it just makes everything so realistic, and I love the realistic part about the movie. But yet again, some of the problems, like a lot of people, is that Godzilla isn't in the movie a lot. Which honestly I can understand. They gotta make Godzilla very suspenseful by not showing him a lot, so when you do see him on screen, you're really surprised. And obviously the fact that it's very dark. Now also, I didn't watch this movie in the movie theaters. I don't think I even was a Godzilla fan at that time. I became a Godzilla fan around 2016. So I didn't get a chance to watch it in the movies. I'm sure in the movies it was a lot brighter, but when you watch it at home, especially in the daytime, it can be very hard to see, and I often find myself having to close the blinds just so I can see, so the room can be darker. But anyways, there's so many good scenes in Godzilla 2014, and I just love the movie. I love the Monsterverse as a whole. There's nothing on this list that I hate. So just because Godzilla 2014 is kind of this low, doesn't mean I hate it. I absolutely love it. And I honestly really hope we get this realistic Godzilla-like in a future Monsterverse movie. Next up, we have Monarch Legacy of Monsters. I am so glad this show exists. It ties in a lot of things in the Monsterverse together. This show could have been absolutely perfect if they focused more on the backstory and all of the characters that took place in the 50s rather than the modern day stuff. The modern day stuff was definitely very important, especially the tie-ins they had with Mechagodzilla, which was one of my favorite parts about the show. But the characters themselves, I feel like they weren't really doing a lot to the story. Yeah, sure, they were going around, going on little adventures, but they were just kind of like bragging and arguing the whole way. Either way, all of the stuff that takes place in the past, I absolutely loved. It's so awesome to see the lore of the Monsterverse, find out how Monarch was first developed, finally seeing that Godzilla scene where he takes a nuclear bomb to the face. And there's just a lot of tie-ins, like the Mechagodzilla reference, all the tie-ins to Godzilla 2014, and the fact that this takes place before King of the Monsters basically means you can easily have a season 2 and do a lot more stuff. Next up, we have Kong Skull Island. This is a movie I feel like is very underrated and a lot of Godzilla fans kind of just look over. Yes, it's a story about Kong. Obviously there's no Godzilla in it, unless you're, counting the post-credit scene. But it's a Kong movie, but even then, it's so good. The casting is awesome, the acting is awesome, the cinematography, the camera work, the music. There's so much good about this movie to the point where I can honestly almost say that this might be the best Monsterverse movie. Sure, it may not be my favorite, but we can all agree that it is really good. The color palettes throughout the movie, the villain being the Skullcrawler who's always hungry, always looking for something to eat. The fights were absolutely great. I could go on forever talking about how good this movie is. Yeah, sure, it has its small little problems, but compared to the other Monsterverse movies, I feel like it has less problems. This movie is just great. That's all I really gotta say. Next up, we have Godzilla Vs Kong. Let me just say something. The hype leading up to Godzilla Vs Kong, the fact that the movie just kept getting delayed, we all were waiting for the trailer, it just never came. There was just so much hype leading up to this movie. These two giant monster movie stars finally coming together. We haven't seen them come together since 1962. So as you can see, there was a whole lot of hype. And I had so much fun watching this movie in the movie theaters. There's just so many memories that I have of Godzilla vs. Kong that just makes it have to be this high on the list. I think the movie itself is pretty good. There's a lot of things that could be better. The movie could be longer. But even then, the fights were just really great. The only reason why it isn't really as higher on the list, honestly, is just because how it was set up in King of the Monsters. In Godzilla King of the Monsters, you had the after credits scene with Godzilla and Kong fighting on the cave painting. And there's been so many theories staring like, how they're gonna fight, and people were saying that Godzilla was gonna go to Skull Island and fight Kong on Skull Island. There was just so many crazy theories that all sounded true, but then when the movie came out, it was just a lot different than what a lot of people were thinking. It was just a lot different than what I was thinking of in my mind, so it kind of makes me like not like it as much, or just be like, oh, this is what we could have gotten. We could have gotten a 2-hour and 20-minute movie, but instead it was like an hour and 53 minutes. Either way, I loved Godzilla vs. Kong. I love watching it. I would watch that movie over and over again. So let's move on to the next thing on the list. And it is Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. Wow, dude. This movie is so fun. I already did a whole entire review on this movie, and it's great. Just saying, there is a little bit of spoilers for Godzilla X Kong here, so you might want to skip ahead a little bit if you haven't seen the movie. But if you have, man, dude, the fights were amazing. Godzilla suplexing Kong, amazing. Kong holding Suko and swinging him around and hitting the other Kong was absolutely peak cinema right here. This movie was just fun from start to beginning. A lot of stuff happened, and my goodness, it was so good seeing Mothra back as well. I could talk about this movie a lot in this video, but to keep things short, I'm not really going to talk about it a lot. But I'm sure if you watched it, you can see why it's second place. And in first place for my favorite movie in the Monsterverse, and one of my favorite movies of all time, Godzilla, King of the Monsters. I know there's a lot of you out there who really don't like Godzilla, King of the Monsters. I know the critics gave it such a bad score and all of that, but it's not necessarily the movie itself. It's just the time period in which the movie came out. Back in 2019, I was in middle school. I was just kind of becoming a Godzilla fan, learning everything about Godzilla. So when I heard that they were going to make another Godzilla movie, I was so excited. And when the first trailer came out for Godzilla King of the Monsters, I honestly thought it was a fake trailer. And then I found out, oh my gosh, wait, this is real. And I just have so many memories, the trailers from when this movie came out. When the movie finally came out, dude, the music, the cinematography, so many good shots in the movie. The classic roars that they use for Godzilla, Ghidorah, and Mothra. The Rodan scene is probably my favorite scene in the movie. There's just so much respect and homage to all the other Godzilla movies in this one movie. There's just so much that a Godzilla fan just, you can't watch this and then be like, oh, that was absolutely horrible. There is nothing that I liked about this movie. There's just so much to like about this movie. Yet again, it's always going to have its problems, but I think the good things about it takes over those problems. And obviously just seeing Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, and Rodan all on the screen together is just a delightful surprise. So yet again, although I don't think Godzilla King of the Monsters is the best Monsterverse movie, it's definitely my #1 favorite. But I'm gonna leave it off here. That is my official ranking of all the Monsterverse movies from my least favorite to my favorite. Now yet again, just because the last thing on this list is my least favorite doesn't mean I hate it. I love all the stuff from the Monsterverse so far. I've hated none of it so far, and I'm so excited to see what movies we have in the future. But that is going to be it for today's video. Tell me what you guys think of my list. Is it absolutely horrible, or can you somewhat agree to it? If you want to see a better ranking where I actually rank them from worst to best, then let me know in the comments. But as always, have a great Godzilla day.